This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, and welcome in for another episode of For the Good of the Game. Tonight, we have the unique pleasure of chatting with Trevor and Cody Harris. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Cody and meeting Trevor by way of Edinboro University, where my younger son Tyler played and roomed with Cody for the Fighting Scots football team. And while our listeners may not know, is just how truly legendary these brothers are. So we're going to discover as we explore a little of their history during tonight's conversation. Trevor Harris is currently the quarterback for the Edmonton Eskimos of the Canadian Football League and will be playing in his 9th CFL season when the league restarts this year. Cody is currently pursuing a career in the health services industry as a physician's assistant. Both brothers were standout leaders both on and off the field at Marion Pleasant High School in Ohio. And if that weren't enough, they also rewrote the football record books at Division II Edinboro University in Pennsylvania, where they are currently either number 1 or number 2 in 16 statistical categories and number 1 and 2 in 7 of those 16 categories. Trevor's number 1 in many of those stats. I got to give a little extra love to Cody because he's number 1 in both the season and career completion percentage. So, way to go, younger brother. Fabulous kids start with fabulous homes, and parents Suzanne and Tom Harris are no exception to that rule. I've had the grand pleasure of meeting both of them. And this is an all-American family of 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, growing up in a strong Christian environment. So let's dig into this relationship between these brothers and see what makes them tick. So I'm excited to have both Trevor and Cody with me. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I was kind of glancing back through over the last week, looking back at the high school records and the descriptions at Edinboro. And then for Trev, looking at, his career starting off first couple of years, bouncing around a little bit, kind of finding his own with Toronto and then coming through. And, I was kind of curious. I started thinking about how do I want to ask these questions? When you guys were growing up, was your relationship more of one where you complimented one another, or was there always a level of competition between the two of you? Trevor, I'll let you go first.
In short, it's a little bit of both. It was constantly, best friends and bitter enemies. If anybody did anything to Cody, it was messing with me, and it really would tick me off. And, the same with him. If anybody would say anything about me, it was that way. But when we were at home, there was many times where ping pong paddles were broken, many times where ping pong balls were smashed. We were pushing each other and race into the kitchen to, it's just from the couch to the kitchen, who can get there fastest. Everything's a contest. And, I credit Cody a lot with where I'm at in my career, because I'm not here without him, because we instilled work ethic in each other. And I could assure you the hardest working physician assistant in the country is on this podcast with us. And I know how he is. He's a grinder, and him and I have just always been molded that way, blue collar people from Ohio, like our dad raised us, love Jesus, love others, and work hard and earn what you get. And we're just we embody that. And Cody's been, probably my best friend since, the time I was little. And it's ever since the time we could push each other around. And, I'm just thankful for our relationship and the way things have turned out the way they are.
Yeah, it's interesting. I explored a little bit of my own relationship with my brother. I too have a brother and 2 sisters. So, similar situation to what you guys grew up in. And it is, I think that there is always the sibling rivalry, and how heated or it gets or stays, congenial is kind of a level of the maturity of you guys growing up. So Cody, when you got ready for high school and eventually college, did you kind of look up to Trevor, or were you more secretly kind of jealous of his success, or did that kind of drive you to push that much harder, as you got into your high school career and then on at Edinboro?
Yeah, honestly, there's never really been a jealous factor for me. It was always kind of looking up to Trevor and just kind of watching the way he did things and watching the leader he was. basically in high school, like the way he was inside and outside the classroom, just like how he'd portray himself outside of in our family, like in a church, and kind of growing himself up through a Christian atmosphere and always just leading towards Christ. Also that, and then just his hard work ethic that he always basically put forward. It kind of just, and he pulled me along, there'd be mornings like 4 or 5 a.m. basically. I'm like, oh man, I think I'm going to sleep in today. And he'd yank me out of bed and be like, you're going to lift with me. So we'd head to the high school early and get a lift in, and just kind of always pushing me to be better. So I didn't really ever look at it as like a jealousy thing. It was always kind of just, I root for him, he would root for me. And we're always rooting for the best in each other, but always looking at him towards the leadership aspect of things and kind of using his playbook.
Well, I'll tell you what, that paid off, because I obviously didn't get to see either of you play in high school, but getting to watch a lot of your games in person in college, that certainly speaks highly of what you learned from Trevor. And because you were certainly, during your tenure as quarterback at Edinboro, the team leader. And I think that, the complementary fashion, which you both talk about each other in, is to be highly regarded. It complements a lot of things, but it really kind of stacks up with, the background and things that I know that your parents instilled in you. So Trevor, what sense of pride did you derive from seeing Cody? I mean, I first met you at an Edinboro game, and what sense of pride did you kind of derive from seeing Cody succeed at such a high level, following through with, your footsteps in both high school and college?
The thing that people don't really know about Cody is he was recruited as a defensive back as well as he was a quarterback.
I did not know that.
He had some Division I schools that recruited him as a defensive back and a quarterback. And honest to God, he could play in the CFL. He's good enough to play in the CFL. Just timing wise, it didn't work out, and he didn't want to pursue it. And it was, a different calling for him. And so there's never been like he said, there's never been a jealousy factor of who's better. And I'll tell you that Cody's better, and he'd tell you that I'm better. But we'd both say that to drive ourselves, but to also let each other know that we're rooting each other on. And when Cody was getting recruited to Edinboro, I remember they always used to, bring me in and say, hey, where are we at with Cody? You think we got a shot? And I would just tell them they're on their own, because Cody was my best friend in the world. And aside from my wife and kids, he still is. And I just never wanted to interfere with, his decision and what he was going to do. And he was going to succeed no matter where he played quarterback at. And it was just a matter of what uniform he was going to be wearing. And then he comes to Edinboro and, breaks records that I set that was really fun to see. And being able to come back and watch him on his senior day was emotional for me too. Cause I mean, shoot, that's 4 years after I'm getting out of college. I'm 28 years old. I'm getting old, so it's, but it's also watching Cody play sports always gave me a sense of youth factor. It's like my younger brother's still playing and made me feel young. And so to answer your question, it was just, it's not like a fatherly thing. It's just like a best friend thing, but you just take so much pride in, watching them succeed. And I'll take a lot of pride in watching them succeed now.
I tell you, it's, and I think that's true. I haven't had really the pleasure to get to know the sisters in this case, but I've spent some time sitting with mom and dad in the stands and chatting with both of them. And I think that both your parents have, every time I've been around them, have always exhibited a great deal of humble pride, but certainly, glowing pride in terms of both of you, both as men, the men you turned out to be, as far as, their sons, husbands, and so on going forward, but also just pleased with the output. I think for any parent, I know for me, we have 4 adult children from age 27 to 34. And for me, it's all about the legacy that's most important to me is how they turned out and what they do in the world to be God-fearing, productive citizens down the road. And I think that your mom and dad both struck gold in that respect. So Trevor, when you look back at some of the success you had, 2-time Harlen Hill Trophy finalist, two-time Grey Cup champion so far in 2016 and 2012 and 2016. What do you look forward to in terms of getting back to play this year and going forward in your career? I think you signed an extension to stay with Edmonton through 2022. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think 2023.
23. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to? I mean, what are your goals right now going forward with your CFL career? What do you hope to achieve?
I'm not, to be honest with you, it's going to sound cliche. I'm not really big on goals per se, or achieving certain things. And, people talk about how many championships you win. Those take care of themselves. I think if you just take care of what's in front of you, and I'm always just curious how high I can take this thing. How good can I be? How much can I impact? And really what gets me fired up, and the reason I don't like to hit snooze in the morning when I wake up, is the love of my teammates and leading my teammates and influencing them and growing as myself, and my ability to grow stops, then my ability to lead stops. And I want to be able to lead and influence. And that's all leadership is, if you boil it down to its most simple form, is influence. And I just want to be able to influence and love my teammates. And when you do that, that's when you make an impact, because people don't remember what you do, but they sure as heck remember how you made them feel. And that's what I want to be remembered for, is genuinely caring for my teammates, helping uplift them and helping them achieve the goals that they want to achieve. And that's kind of one of those things that sounds good, but are you really doing it? And I really genuinely think that's how you achieve your best self, is by lifting up others and loving others. And I'm a biblical person, and the two commandments that are most important is to love God and love others. And so when I'm in season, I love God and I love my teammates and I lift them up, and you'll be able to look back at the scoreboard at the end of your career. And I think you'll be able to turn back and smile and be happy with what you achieved if you just focus on loving others.
It's pretty amazing that you frame it like that, because I'm a huge believer that, it's all about walking the walk. And I think that if all of us as kind of frail human beings and sinners, if you're a believer, you know what those faults are, and all you can do is try your best to be your best self every day. But people see that in how you walk the walk, not just speak. And I think, Cody, I imagine it's the same for you. You've before we went on camera, you were talking about how much you really enjoy your profession. And I could see, that pride and excitement coming through in your voice. I imagine you feel a little bit of that same satisfaction as you go through the day. Do you not?
Absolutely. Honestly, the guy I work with, the doctor I work with, and one of the main reasons I work with him is Trevor could tell you too, he kind of has our same goals in mind. And he doesn't really look at it as, it's just another patient. He looks at it as it's another family member. It's another friend. And just to love them like Jesus does, and give them your best foot every day, and kind of work to take care of them. And you're trying to make them a better life and guide them to a better, healthier day, and to get them back with their family. So that's kind of how, that's kind of led from me from, playing football and, being with my family to my profession, is kind of that leadership I kind of continue to follow through the guy I work with, and just continue to love patients, and just being able to, share, laugh with them, cry with them, have good moments, bad moments, and then kind of get through it together. So it's always a good moment, and just kind of a blessing to be a part of.
How do you think that your faith has helped bring you through the challenges you faced specifically in the healthcare industry as we've gone through COVID for this past 12 to 14 months?
Yeah, honestly, just by just continuing to spread the word in different ways, just by your love to patients when they're going through the toughest time, or a family member that you kind of have to comfort in the time of a tough moment that they're going through, and just kind of giving them the best love you can, kind of showing them Jesus through different ways, rather than just Bible verses or whatever it may be. Basically just kind of continuing to give them what they need to move forward and, progress down the line, as hard as those moments can be. Just continue to love them.
Yeah, it's been neat. It was interesting. I was in Dallas 2 years ago and linked up with the guy who played center to my playing quarterback for 3 years straight through high school. So for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, we developed a close relationship. And as he put it, it's hard not to have a very close relationship with another man who you spent 3 years allowing to put his hands under your legs. So, and he got me involved in a Friday morning Bible study, Zoom study. And we typically there's about 30 guys in the group. We typically have about 18 to 20 guys every Friday. And it's been so refreshing, not only to reunite with some of the guys I played high school ball with, and because when we saw each other, I had not seen him in 43 years, and to have that common ground. And we were big into FCA when we were in high school. So knowing that thread has continued through our lives was kind of cool. And it was neat to see that get reacquainted with these guys. So I know you guys are both happily married, but I got to ask, both, because I played quarterback in high school and college, both guys, good looking guys coming from an all-American family, out on leaders on the field and stuff. Who usually had the good looking girls chasing after them when you were younger?
Well, I don't like to brag, but no. Oh shoot, I think we both were pretty lucky growing up. But to be honest with you, that's been always the thing of mine. Is my parents raised us to treat women properly, and we always just focused on trying to treat the women properly. It was never about having the best looking girl or whatever. It was about having values and sticking to your values and who you are, versus I guess going toward things of the flesh, and just trying to continue to stay in who you are. And I actually talk about it a little bit here and there, just choices I've made before marriage, to abstain from certain things. And, I do those certain things to honor God and to honor my future wife. And it's just things that were values to me, that were taught to me growing up, and we were able to stick to them.
It's kind of cool. I certainly wouldn't have expected any other type of answer, but it's one of those things that if with the right standards and the right character, that kind of stuff permeates every aspect of your life. And you guys have both demonstrated that just in this short 15, 20 minutes we've been chatting, as far as the foundation and the strength you rely on, both, family and faith, and certainly for you two, football as well. So how important was that faith growing up, not only in terms of foundation with your family, but also in your careers all the way through high school and college? And then Trevor, now you in the CFL, and Cody in your profession. Cody, I'll let you go first. Have you let everything rest on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it's basically surrounding myself, just like just like how kind of happens that your son was my roommate in college, but just surrounding myself with those type of individuals, through my job, through my playing, through my family, my friends, my wife, just kind of continue to surround myself with people that have similar values to me. Like respect, and just continue, like I always bring up the word love, but just like loving others and just kind of being like an open ear, but willing to talk to somebody, and just kind of continuing to guide others around them towards Christ, and also towards just a better life in general, and continuing to press them up and not pulling them backwards. So it's kind of always been that way. I'm kind of gotten fortunate with, like I said, like my roommates and everything, just like you raised. And I know people don't know a lot about the guy doing the podcast, but he definitely raised a great family and stuff. And happen to be one of my best friends still to this day. So it's a blessing and honor for that way too.
That's awesome. Trev, do you find that in the locker room, through the experiences that you have, starting out in Jacksonville and then, bouncing around for a couple of years, landing in Toronto, coming up through, and then finally getting, having a super lot of success in Edmonton, do you find that the locker rooms that you've been in at the professional level, guys are willing to sit and listen and chat about that? Do they accept that line of love, as Cody calls it, that you have to share?
Yeah, and I think Cody hit the nail on the head with just loving others. And to be honest, there's a fine line, and I think the line that always hits home to me is preach the gospel, use words when necessary. And basically, just means to live the gospel, and eventually people will realize there's something a little different about you. And if it's a value, you really will live at that, and you'll live that out. And to me, I just try and live that out and love others, and hopefully they can see the love of Jesus in me. And it's one of those tough things. You don't really want to be the Jesus freak, ramming Jesus in their face all the time. But it being there, like Cody said, for a conversation if they want to have it. And, like the Bible says, to be able to have the wisdom to be able to have the conversations in those times. And that's what, your prayer life's about. Reading the Bible, going to church, and growing toward Christ is about. But I get asked about, my relationship with Christ a lot, and being a Christian in a locker room. And to me, the answer is pretty simple. It's just about, what do you value? And I think you can answer those questions by, what do you spend your time and money on? And that'll tell you your values. So when you wake up, what do you spend most of your time and money on? That's what you value. And so if you don't like the answer that you give yourself when you ask yourself, what do you spend your time and money doing? Then maybe it's time for a change. And maybe it starts with prayer life, or implementing something simple like make sure your knees hit the floor before your feet do in the morning and thank God for the day. Make sure you read the Bible at night or have an accountability partner. And Cody and I used to send each other 5 things we were grateful for to start off the day. Before 6 o'clock hits, we've, listed 5 things we're grateful for. And, I think it's just about who you're becoming in the process. It's not about what's happened in your past, but it's more about who you're striving to become and who you are becoming every day.
Yeah, I tell you, 3 years ago, I decided it was time for some strength in my life. And I really wanted to make a change physically, spiritually, and mentally. For me, there were some things that happened that threw some challenges, and I set a gauntlet for myself. And I've been on kind of this quest for the last 3 years of personal development, self-improvement. And a big part of that has been reestablishing, my spiritual relationship and really a faith that never wavered. But I've often described my journey with God as kind of a drive up from Florida to New York on I-95. I've gotten off on the access road a few times and had a hard time finding an entrance ramp back onto the highway. So, it's all of us have struggles. So, Cody, when you look back at growing up in the environment and talking about the things that you did, and both you guys pretty similar approaches to life, what would you say was one of the significant challenges that you had during your football career in either high school or college, where things didn't really go kind of the way that you thought they might, and you really relied on family and faith to get you through that? Was there any significant memory that you have where you really had a struggle you had to grind through?
Honestly, I think one of my biggest struggles, but the person that helped me with it was the person that, I guess people challenged me to, be more like this, kind of like, challenged me to be more like Trevor, or, are you going to be as good as him, or whatever it may be, and that kind of, I never really liked that question because I never really looked at it that way. But I always looked to him for guidance, kind of to help me through those things and just kind of like be your own person. But kind of getting through that and trying to find my own way, and kind of bringing back up a crisis. There's all different ways that, like to lead to Jesus Christ, through the Bible, but also through your actions and kind of being you and kind of having your own spin on it. But at the same time, just kind of continuing to find my own way through being who I was going to become and not trying to be somebody that I'm not. So I'm not Trevor. He wasn't me. So, but trying to find my own way through that. But just continuing to seek Christ, work as hard as I can, get up at 4 a.m. even when I didn't want to. So to make those workouts that Trevor was dragging me through, but also just to continue to have a better life and continue to progress to and be who I was going to be rather than that. So that's what I would have to say.
Yeah, and don't let him say that I had to drag him through these workouts. I just had to drag him out of bed. Once we got there, I had to drag him out of the weight room. So he's a grinder. I
can remember seeing him come in from a workout with one of those masks on before COVID ever hit. This was years ago while he was still playing at Edinboro, and because he was trying to challenge himself and develop a better wind. And, and then Tyler and Corey sitting on the couch, sitting there munching on something. And here comes Cody all, physically fit with his mask on. And he's like setting the example for the roommates. So that was good stuff. Yeah. And I understand now. It's funny because I get up at 4 o'clock every morning now. And I really, I try my best at my age to do what I need to stay physically fit. And, because I personally want to coach my grandkids, and they're only 3 years and 2 months at this point. So I got a ways to go to, stay in shape enough to get them on the field. So we'll see how that goes. So Trev, when you look to the future, and I know you said you're not real big on goals, but do you have any desire at this point, or do you know, how long would you like to continue playing, and what do you potentially see yourself doing after football? Do you have any plans at this point? Or are you going to kind of see what happens?
People are starting to ask me, and I think it's a cool question to get, is how long are you going to play? Because truth is, I tried to quit football my freshman year in high school. And I thought, when I went to college, I was like, I can't believe these people are dumb enough to pay for my school. And, I just did the best I could with what I had, where I was at. My whole life, and it's led me here. And, I thought maybe if I could just squeeze 3 years out, get some good stuff on my resume, maybe I can become a coach at the college level. And maybe if I can just crack a number 2 job in the CFL, maybe if I can just get a couple starts and have success and hang around as a 2. And I waited 6 years to get my opportunity to play. From 2009 was my last game at Edinboro. 2015 was the first year I actually got to start for Toronto as the opening day starter. And I just remember thinking during that whole 6 years, I just got to play well enough to hang around long enough to get an opportunity. And once I see that door crack, I'm gonna bust through it. And that's just how Cody and I have been our whole lives, is you give us an opportunity, we're going to capitalize. But it's because we put in the work during the dark hours. I don't post a lot of any of my workouts online, but I promise you, I'm working harder than anybody you know. And I promise you, Cody Harris is working harder than anybody you know. That's just who he is. That's who I am. That's who my dad raised. And my mom's the same way. And so as soon as my desire to be the hardest working person in the CFL goes, that's when I'll be done. And I think God will take that away from me when he wants me to be done. And everything to me that during my career, I take diligent notes because I want to keep learning in every experience I can so that I can influence and impact the future generations when I can hopefully be fortunate enough and blessed enough to coach, at the college or professional level when I'm done.
Go ahead, Cody.
Kind of a quick spin off from that, Trevor talking about how hard he works and everything. And it's amazing to every day, I think he's coming up with some new, activity or some exercise, basically to either brain training to training like the military in terms of like all these brain thing he does he flew out to, I think it was Trevor, if I'm mistaken, like Denver recently to meet like a neuroscientist just to kind of work on his brain function and his body and try to just get an upper edge on everyone. So from those, and then he just trained at TB12 like about a month ago, constantly kind of making himself and his thing's pliability, like Tom Brady thing. So, but he's always pushing himself to be better. And it's amazing to watch him continue even through this pandemic, just kind of, and not having a season and kind of the unknown, but just continuing literally day in and day out and grinding to be ready for the next season or when that opportunity restarts again. And just kind of like that whole layoff he had in the past, just this whole layoff, he's still, grinding and putting his best foot forward. And he's going to be ready when that time comes.
Yeah, Trevor, I saw I watched the podcast you had with Dr. DeBrinket after you guys finished doing the testing, because I've been wearing Vox socks for probably about 3 years now. And I wear the patches. I've been having shoulder issues and I'm seeing a therapist now, but I really want to use the ARP Neuro. I think you used it when you were with him. How did that do? I mean, you're looking around like you must have a home unit.
It's downstairs. And I'll tell you what, like, I had some elbow issues and I tried everything from, dry needling to Graston to stim to ice to massage to, anything that I could think of through the years that I've done for treatment, anything that I could think of. I went and got treatment from all these different people. I had the pliability, and I did one treatment on the ARP and it was 80% better, like that. And it's got 6 patents on it, efferent, afferent frequencies. It's got direct current instead of alternating current. And I'd be dumb to tell you all the science behind it because I don't know it. I just know that I did a treatment on it and it was 80% better. And I was like, what the heck is this thing? And it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really, this is definitely not something I plan to talk about, but I'm trying to figure out one way or another how to get my insurance to pay for one so I can try to fix this shoulder because it's hampering me. It irritates me. And I'm not one of the guys that tries to look like I can lift the gym. But I absolutely, want to stay active. So let me just, in terms of kind of closing out, the theme for this season was relationships, or is relationships. And that's why I was so excited about getting to interview you guys. And I haven't had the pleasure of being around Trevor as much as I have you, Cody, and certainly know the type of man you are and have had a lot of fun and been, poked at and been poked. So I like your wife was saying before we went on, always giving each other a hard time and stuff. And that's what I love about the relationship that you and Tyler had. But going forward, if you were going to, in your cases, and I'd like each of you to address the environment you're in right now. So Trevor, for you as a Canadian Football League quarterback, professional athlete, and Cody, for you as a healthcare professional and someone, leading the charge, on the front lines during COVID and things like this. If you were going to, have a quick pep talk with somebody in your, whether it's in the locker room for Trev or whether it's in the hospital room for Cody, what kind of stuff would you say as far as just living day to day, making the best of the situation that you can, and really trying to, take care of yourself and others. Cody, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, the world is full of unknowns. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, in the next hour, but just kind of continuing to be you, better yourself, put a smile on your face, even though how tough moments can be, smiling through it and not letting kind of the negative moments get the best of you. So just continue to push forward, understand that those are unknowns, like with the COVID and everything. Nobody really knows what to do, but trying to leading through somebody when there's not a great option out there right now. And we still don't really have it, medication wise, at least. And, but just kind of leading people through that unknown and just at least giving them some type of hope through that. So I would just say, continue to be yourself and progressing forward, and just live for the moment.
What about you, Trev?
When Cody was talking, I could echo exactly what he said, because I think he hit the nail on the head when he kept saying to be yourself. I think the best thing that we can do in any environment is be authentic. And Cody talked about, when he took over as the quarterback as a freshman, after I left, people kept asking, are you going to be like Trevor? What are you going to be like? And every single time he was just like, I'm just going to be me. And he broke a lot of my records doing so. And, he did so many good things by being himself, not trying to be me, or not trying to be Justin Bouch, who played before me, or not trying to be the best quarterback, and just being the best version of himself. And you do that by loving others and focusing on loving others and finding ways to grow. Get a good book, find a book to read that, get a mentor that has read some good books, and tell them to give you a good book to read. Find discomfort and lean the freak into it, grow. That's where life's gems are, is being yourself, loving and focusing on others, finding discomfort to grow in and leaning in. And that may be, lame or cliche to say, but that's just, I think that's sort of the best advice I've been given. And that's kind of been my mental approach for quite a while.
Well, I'll tell you, I started off talking about the fact that, and all of you, obviously I refer to it, chronologically as kids, both you guys being grown men.
Appreciate that.
Understand where I'm coming from. But I said, fabulous kids start in fabulous homes. And when they see this, if they see this, Suzanne and Tom have a lot to be proud of with both the young men they raised, the gentlemen, and both men in terms of professionals, as well as just people that you guys have become. And it certainly makes me proud that I went the extra mile through Tyler and asked to bring you guys on. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to be here. And it's a message that doesn't get shared often enough, I think. I had a high school classmate of mine who's been a professional sports agent for 28 years, Drew Pittman. He wrote a book, and we came on a few weeks ago and chatted about his book. And he also, the book is called First Team Dad, and it's written from the Christian perspective with kind of a game plan for getting through life as a parent. Because unfortunately, none of us pop out of the womb with an owner's manual for our parents to follow, So it's one of those things. And I think that, the job that your folks did, and the family background you guys have, and certainly what you've shared with our listeners tonight, goes a long way to speak highly of you two as individuals, and certainly for the Harris family. So thanks, guys, for being here. Trevor, wish you all the luck in the world. I know it. I know that through this pandemic, you've been itching to get back on the field. When are they telling you guys you're going to report? I just saw the league made the announcement the other day.
Yeah, they said, I think camp in July, season starts in August. So stuff's all out of my control. I just control my attitude and effort. I'll just keep grinding, and
there you go.
They'll turn out right.
That sounds awesome. I think that this is a great thing to end on. And I wanted to emphasize for, a lot of guys that I saw, I retired from the military after 23 years in 2005. And you see it a lot with soldiers when they retire. You see it a lot with professional athletes when they stop doing the sport that they're doing. So many people's identity is tied to what they do. And you guys are a perfect case of, being able to have that identity anchor you in terms of your belief, your faith, your family, and it carry you through. So for Trev, you talked about, the challenges that you went through and how long you grinded those 6 years to become a starting quarterback. And Cody's a perfect example of a guy who had a very successful career and chose to get into something that he felt was a calling for him and go forward in that. So it speaks well for those folks that are, maybe struggling with that identity piece and really don't, for whatever reason, know what they're going to do next. So I appreciate both you gentlemen for what you are doing, what you have done, and certainly what you will do in the future. And thanks for taking the time to be here tonight.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.